Hi, it's Brittany from the Empurrium. Welcome back to my channel. Today is day 6 of the 13 days of Christmas for 2024. And we're going to make a Minky blanket, an adult-sized Minky blanket. So this is a double-side Minky blanket. I used a 2-yard adult-sized topper, as they call them, and a 2-yard coordinate for the backing. I got this from, also, it's cold up here. Don't mind me. I got this fabric from Backstitch Fabrics. Unfortunately, they're like no longer a thing. So you can check like buy sell trades, maybe get lucky. I bought it a couple years ago and I had not made it because I have a hard time making sure my living room is clean enough for a giant space to make blankets. It's the truth. It is what it is. So the hardest thing making these is you have to like lay them out on the floor unless you have a giant cutting table, which good for you. So anyways, we'll go over like prepping it and trimming it and clipping it together and then sewing it. The sewing is really easy. You just have to like contend with 4 yards of fabric on your machine. I hope you have been enjoying the 13 days of Christmas. If you haven't checked out the other videos, you should go do that. And after you watch this one, and there will be more. So enjoy. Hello from the floor of my mildly clean living room. The lighting in here isn't the greatest, so I apologize. I turned all the lights on that I could. I need to get a new light in here. But we are here because this is the only space like in my house where I have a big enough floor space to lay out this adult-sized blanket. I'll probably show you a little bit of what I'm doing and then speed up the rest. I'm not sure. I was having a hard time deciding which of these blankets I want to make. I really need to make a lot of them. So I was like, if I bring them both in the living room, maybe they'll both get done. Not today. But we'll see. Hi, Luna. The cats are like, oh, what's mom doing in the living room? So I have this adult Minky blanket topper. So adult, it means it's like 2 yards by the width of the fabric. I thought it'd be fun to do no talking, only sewing from like the Animal Crossing. And then I have the coordinate for the back. So it's just 2 yards of like the seamless print. And then I also remembered I had gotten, this one feels a little nicer, this giblets one. It says, what's it say? Big things often have small beginnings. Yes, it's really cute. And then again, I have the 2 yards. Custom fabric is expensive and you're essentially buying 4 yards for one blanket. You can get like cheaper Minky fabric from like Joann's. There's other places online that you can get it too. Sometimes I like bought these and I was like, why did I just spend that money? I see a blanket in the store and I'm like, 40 bucks? It's too much. Add to cart, 100 bucks in fabric. Yeah, I have a problem. It's okay, we can admit it. I think I'm gonna do the Animal Crossing one first. Also because Thea enjoys sewing now and she's gonna start playing Animal Crossing when she gets the Switch, so I think she'll like it. So I have like a lot of clips. You're gonna want a lot of clips. Also, my little kitty bowl, if you haven't seen it before, I got it from 6 Stitches. I got my rotary cutter a long quilting ruler. I grabbed my 8x24 and I have my cutting mat. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm not gonna step on my ruler and break it, okay? I'm gonna take one side, which is probably gonna be the topper. Yeah. And I'm going to lay it right side up on the floor, and you're gonna wanna make sure you spread it out as much as you can. You want to try to not have like wrinkles because you want it smooth. Toddler and like little kid baby blankets are easier because you don't need all this space. Maybe eventually I will do a video how I made my kids blankets from a toddler topper but made them like bigger kid size. Okay, so hard thing too is I don't know what I was gonna say. You have to think, Brittany. I don't know. All right, you kind of just have to adjust it as you go. But what we're gonna need to do after we have this all smoothed out is we're gonna wanna go around the edges and trim off the selvage and make sure everything is straight. You can get away with just doing this on the front, and then what we'll do is we'll pick it up, we'll take the backing and we'll bring it over and lay it down and then lay the front on top of it so we can clip, unless it's like a lot bigger, you'll need to trim down some, but you can clip it to it and then you can use the front that you've trimmed as your like guidance for your seam allowance. Really thought I gave myself enough space. I didn't want to stand on it, but the top needs rolled out a little. I do pre-wash all of my Minky before I make the blankets. Also, an alternative is if you like the toppers from a custom fabric place, you can buy the topper, then you can buy like a solid back of Minky. I've done that quite a few times. Okay, so what I need to do now is you cannot see this corner. I guess I go that corner first. Maybe. Messed up what I was. It's fine. You can adjust as you go. Okay. So the thing is, you have to take your cutting mat around to where you're working because you have to cut on the cutting mat. But you can just slide it under. There's a lot of crawling around on the floor involved. Okay, so now we have that there. We can take, you have two options. You can just, without a ruler, follow the line if you have a solid line to follow, or you'll need to use the ruler. I personally would rather use the ruler. I hate that I am not left-handed. But this is the side I'm on. Doesn't have to be completely perfect because you are going to, the cats are running up the steps. Doesn't have to be completely perfect because you're going to be sewing it. Just make sure you sew in a straight line. So like if any of the little bit of the selvage still shows, that's all right because you are going to, you know, have your seam allowance. That's what I was trying to say. I'm sorry. It's been like a really long last 10 years. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around and finish doing this. I might try moving the camera and time-lapsing it. Then I'll come back and show you what I'm going to do next. It's really hard to record a video when you're doing something on the floor. Okay, so I trimmed off all of this and George helped play with it. Now he's like cleaning his butt or something. This is how he sits sometimes. Like I love him. Okay, so we're gonna pick this piece up and we're gonna take the other piece and lay it down. George, are you helping? I feel like this is a perfect opportunity to share my slippers with you. I'm blending in with the orange cats. Anyways, okay. So we're going to lay down this piece. And again, really don't want to break my ruler. Glad I didn't actually get to decorate the tree yet because my butt would be knocking the ornaments off. Okay. So this one you really want to make sure you've got it laid out smooth. I feel like this is a little bit more important. Also, try not to put my butt in the camera. You're welcome. Okay. It's okay, bud. So you just want it to be as smooth as possible. Now you're going to want to note which direction is up, because when we lay down the topper, this is like making a bed. The cat is in the way. You want the topper to be in the same direction as your back. And you want to lay them right sides together. I'm going to try to line the bottom up first. Oh, good, he moved. Okay. I'm going to try to line this corner up as best I can. I haven't trimmed the bottom or top, so I don't know how straight those are, but I'm lining my seam on the side, the edge of my topper. I'm lining it up to the edge of the print on the coordinate. Also, I forgot. So my daughter thinks that these pieces of blankets are blankets, and she'll have them like all over the house, and then I have to rewash them. She must have spilled something on this topper because the back has stains, but the front doesn't. Oh well, it's ours. Okay, so just make sure you have this as smooth as possible. And you can kind of just work your way however you need to. I think I've had this material for a couple years at this point. All right, so I'm gonna keep trying to line this side up, but if it doesn't line up perfectly, that's okay for me. Almost feel like this is mildly a workout, like up and down, on the floor, off the floor. Try not to walk on it also if I can help it, but this corner is literally in the corner. If you kind of just like grab it and shake a little, I don't think you can see me, I'm sorry, but smooth it out. If you are a person that likes using straight pins, pinning this together would be really good. I really don't like using them. I just always stab myself. I only use them when I absolutely have to. Okay. So, now that I have all of this smoothed out together, have a couple of little options here. These two corners match up really well. I can go ahead and just clip them. And then I feel like over here, I'm okay if I bunch this up and clip it. But the top, oh, I thought I just heard a cat in the toilet. I think it was a cat toy. So sorry. The top has about 5 or so inches that I'm going to need to trim off. I think some of this wasn't as smooth as it could be either. I know I said I was going to try not to be on it, but okay. So you have a couple options. You can grab scissors, or you can use the rotary cutter, and if you want, you can just go ahead and trim as you go. So I'll probably just do that. If you like lay the ruler on it too, it kind of helps keep it flat. So let's see here. I'm just gonna start with this whole corner. Okay, and then I have my big tub of clips. I'm gonna clip every couple inches. One, two, three, four, five. Every like 5 inches. The Minky is a little bit stretchy, so it does shift a little. So keep that in mind when you're sewing. It's gonna move on you some. So again, I'm going to trim as I go and clip it together. I'm gonna speed it up, and then after we do that, we'll go to the sewing machine. No more poor lighting. So this is what the edges look like right now. I did not like neatly cut, but they're all clipped together and they're ready to sew. Also, Luna is not the best helper. She's being bad. Luna. So we have our blanket clipped together. Brought it upstairs. Rolled up. I'm going to unroll because my bottom is down here somewhere. Okay, I'm gonna leave a turning hole in the bottom. Actually, like bottom on the side. Yeah, that sounds great. So I will start maybe I'm gonna say maybe like 12 inches up. I'm gonna aim for a 1/4 inch seam allowance, but what I'm really gonna do is just kind of use my foot on my machine. It's really simple to sew. We're just gonna sew all the way around. We're gonna make a couple snips. We're gonna flip it and top stitch it. Super simple. So the one thing that I will like say when you're doing these blankets, you want to make sure that everything is flat and smooth, and you want to make sure that if anything stretched at all, that you're keeping it like even and consistent. Sometimes the material wants to kind of bunch up and you have to make sure that you're not letting it. You could do this stitch on a cover stitch and it would like automatically trim for you too. It's just going to be a preference for how you would like to sew it. I'm using my Under the Sea variegated thread from Wizardry. It is like a minty teal ombre, even though you won't, I find that I really can't even see my final stitch because it just goes down into the Minky. Alright, so I'm gonna zip through the rest of the sides and then I'll be back. Made it to my starting point and I left a space to turn, and then I need to do a couple trimming things. I recommend snipping at the corners, so we'll find the 4 corners. We'll just do that first. That's just going to help the corner sit a little bit nicer. One more. Okay. I need to trim down my seams now. That's the only thing that stinks if you don't like perfectly trim them when you're cutting and clipping, because now I should trim this down some. You could not trim it. That's up to you. I'm just going to take it to my cutting table and use the rotary cutter, and then I'll be right back and we'll turn it and top stitch. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to go to the opposite corner. Found it. All right, I'm going to poke that in and pull that corner out. Okay, I'm gonna recommend that you poke these corners out before you do anything else, just so you can get your nice little crisp corners. I'm using my hemostats, so basically you just have to find all your corners again. So sorry. Come on. After we poke the corners, you could, if you want, you can clip on the seams, but I'm just gonna hold it as I go when I sew, because truly at this point I'm like, just want to finish it. But yeah, poking these out right now really helps give you better corners in the end. Okay. Just pretty much have my arm in here with the hemostats. It's kind of funny. Okay, so I've got my corners all pressed out. Now you have your turning hole here, and you are going to want to make sure that the material is folded in, and if you kind of just like fold and give it a little tug, it'll go in on its own, but you're gonna want to clip it and make sure everything looks good. So nice and straight. I was toying with the idea of putting a woven label in here, but then I was like, I don't really like when my blankets have tags. And then I thought, well, maybe I could put one of my little cork labels on, but I don't know what that would be like going through the washer, and it's just a blanket for me, so I'm not going to, but you could decide like how you want to do that. But as we sew, we're gonna just roll the seam and make sure it's nice and flat. And I'm going to go ahead and start right before my opening, and I'm gonna kick my stitch length up on this machine to a 4, and I'm gonna be stitching, let's see, I'm gonna be stitching like 1/8 of an inch top stitch. If your seam allowance was bigger and you're able to go in some, you could, or you could do 2 rows of stitches if you wanted, but I want to make sure that first I catch this seam here so that I can close it nicely, but also I want to stitch through my seam everywhere. So take your time when you get to the corners. Make sure your needle's down and starting to come back up when you pivot. I'm going to go ahead and trim these threads before I get back. Alright, and then just like when I was sewing the layers together, I'm going to make sure everything is nice and flat as I go. So just rolling the seam, making sure everything's flat. It's just a lot of adjusting as you go, and it would take forever video wise if I recorded this whole, so I'm gonna speed it up again, and then I'll show you it all done. All done. So the hyperlapse said it took me 10 minutes to top stitch this, which not bad. It is a full-size blanket. I hope if you have like debated making a blanket like this, but you didn't know how to do it or you thought it was intimidating. I know it is simple, but sometimes simple things we psych ourselves out of doing. But I hope maybe you'll make some blankies. They make good gifts. A couple years ago, I gifted blankets, and I don't know, maybe we'll do that again this year. This one's mine, though. I hope you enjoy the 13 days of Christmas. Check out the other videos, and happy holidays.